Welcome to The Front Garden, brought to you by Straightcurve Australia, leaders in precision engineered steel garden edging systems, built for speed, strength and finish.
And welcome to the Front Garden podcast, brought to you by Landscaping Victoria and Straightcurve Garden Edging. Whether you're on the ground or designing the gardens, we're here to talk all things landscape with you. Today we have Tomas Runciman from Straightcurve Garden Edging. Straightcurve is an Australian company that recently celebrated 11 years in the business, founded in Bunbury, Western Australia. The company was co-founded by an engineer and a landscaper who wanted to make landscaping work easier, faster and more reliable. Tomas, welcome.
Thanks, Adam.
As always, just want to see how you started out in the industry and what got your love for landscaping.
Yeah, well, I guess from a young age I've been interested in gardening and landscaping. Some of my earliest childhood drawings were plans of gardens and garden structures, definitely focusing on the detail and how materials fit together. So I guess like looking back, it's a bit profound that I've ultimately ended up working in this space. I was fortunate to grow up with parents who were environmentally aware and encouraged an understanding for Australian landscape and the plants that exist within it. My grandfather also had a strong influence. He grew a significant amount of food for the greater family on the farm, and I spent a lot of time working with him in school holidays in his vegetable garden. So I guess through that experience, I learned not only how to grow food, but also how to cook and how to preserve it and how to respect the garden.
And ever since then, you still get in the garden and do your food?
100%.
Works, yeah?
In fact, I've got 4 bowls of olives that are starting to cure right now in the kitchen.
That is good.
Yeah.
That is good. You get some good meals out of that. Obviously, garden edging often feels like a finishing detail. Why is it actually a key to the landscape design?
Well, I see garden edging as one of the quiet structural sort of heroes of the landscape design. On site, it's doing a lot more than people realise. Believe it or not, edging sets levels, holds materials in place, of course, and keeps the whole design honest over time. It's not only used for delineation, but also for creating spaces and elevated zones.
Yeah. And with your products, you've got everything from your flexible edging up to your rings. Do you guys do custom work, things like that?
Look, we don't do custom work. We're the industry leader, I suppose, in precision engineered modular systems. We have our in-ground range, which is our edging range. Those profiles are 75mm, 100 and 150. We have our above-ground range, which is a precision-engineered retaining wall system that comes in flex and rigid, and also zero flex. The benefit of our raised garden bed system or above-ground range is that it's engineered to retain at its full height. So what you pay for, you get to look at. Wow. So when it's 560 high, you can install it 560 high and you get that full profile. You don't need to bury any of it at all.
That's fantastic. So that would mean that the stakes you use to fix it, are they obviously a lot more solid to go further in the ground?
We have a bracing sort of system or methodology. We also have the stakes which hold the panels. So I guess in short, you have a retaining wall or a raised garden bed, and you would choose, if you're making sweeping curves, you'd choose our flex product. If you're creating straight lines, you'd choose our rigid product. And if you wanted that almost bulletproof finish, you'd have the zero flex panels. They're installed with galvanised twisted spikes along the base to hold the panels from moving forward on an x-axis. And then we have a bracing system we call the universal bracing set, which is a turnbuckle chain and peg, which holds the panel sort of moving forward on a y-axis. The benefit of the turnbuckle in that system is that over time or over maintenance scheduling, you can go back and you can give that turnbuckle a little twist.
Oh, wow.
Keep the panels true. So this system is above ground. You can bury it, of course, but you don't need to. And you get to see the full height that you're specifying or you're purchasing.
So when you are doing the tensioning on the turnbuckle, where was that fixed to? Because that sounds fantastic. I haven't heard of that before.
It is a great solution to bracing. At the rear of the flex and rigid panels, we have bracing rods, and you can fix the turnbuckle into that bracing rod. Yeah. It's then connected to a chain, which is then connected to a heavy duty stake, which goes back on an angle into the garden bed. It's a solution for most sort of retaining wall projects, where you don't have that depth in the garden bed, we revert to an anchor post system.
That's fantastic, because that's one of the things that we notice a lot in the industry's movement.
Yeah,
everything moves a bit, and that's one of the things that we tell our clients, and especially with the garden edging side of things, if you've got plants or whatever, or a bit of the water or whatever is going to be pushing the edging, you can just tension it back up. So is that thicker, the Zero Flex stuff?
I guess thickness is something that's talked a lot about due to sort of referencing olden day technologies of using flat bar, using sheet steel. Straightcurve is a precision engineered solution, and due to the way that we fold our steel, we're able to get an incredible amount of strength and rigidity from our panels. The fact that we have the flex and the rigid with a shared rolled top profile, it's got a double roll, which means it's super strong from the top, and the flex product just happens to have perforations along the back to be able to create those sweeping curves. Really tight radius. You can get up to half a metre radius, or down to. Those profiles can work together. You can create like a heart-shaped garden bed if you wanted to by using the flex and the rigid together. The Zero Flex is like a box top product. The common name is like the box top stuff, and that's a panel that can be used as a retaining wall and joined in straight runs and with returns. It also has mitered ends, so at 45 degrees, so that you can actually create planter boxes very quickly, very simply. So you don't need to haul or crane in huge planter boxes. You can actually carry the panels up and install them within minutes.
So they're modular, you put them together?
Yeah, our whole systems are modular, and that's why we sort of see ourselves as the industry leader in the modular space.
You've got the roll top and the square top, is that what you're saying? So is that sort of like a 25 mil setback profile that makes it look like a thicker?
I suppose visually you're going to look at the rolled top, or it's a double rolled top, and that would give that sort of visual 5 mil sort of thickness. But it's nice and rolled, and we say child safe, or great for playgrounds and schools and things. The box top or the Zero Flex profile is something that looks a lot more sort of industry standard when you're creating these big planter boxes where you see that sort of inch across top.
Yeah, it gives the illusion, makes it look like it's a one big solid sort of 30, 40 mil box, whatever
100%.
It is. Yeah. When you were talking about the perforations in the back of the steel, I'm just remembering back when we used to get the grinder out, and with the mild steel, we'd have to cut a series of lines on the back to make it flex. So that's gone, obviously, with the weathering steel for you guys. Our
founders, Dan and Yuri, began Straightcurve 11 years ago. They were, using products, the original gangsters in the industry in that space of edging, and they saw that there were there's other products out there that say they can do straight lines and curves, but we knew that we had to create, or they knew that they had to create something that would definitely make a beautiful flex and curve, and something that would make a straight line that you can rely on. And so the profiles are the same, but the perforations along the top lip and the bottom foot plate of those panels make it really easy to curve.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's
no grinding necessary, no welding necessary. In fact, the edging and the raised garden beds, that we have to offer today, there are no tech screws, no welding. It means that you basically have the products ready to go. You can assemble very, very quickly.
So without tech screws, how are they joined?
So yeah, great question. The Click Connect edging, or when you normally see edging installed in the landscape, and something we've built the business on over the last 11 years is edging that slots together and then you fix with tech screws. Luckily, we hide our tech screws on the very bottom margin of our edging, so that ends up getting buried. But the new range we have, Click Connect, is a system that is joined together with a connecting plate made out of spring steel. Basically, the lengths just slot together. Ensures that you can install edging very fast. The long sets have 7.2 metres in a box, which sort of gets you over the line for that 6 metre flat bar.
Yeah.
There's no welding, there's no tech screws. It's the fastest installation on the planet.
So there's always that extra metre that you need when you buy the 6 mil steel. So that'd be very handy.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the weathering steel, why do you think it's become so popular these days? Obviously, gardens that we're building, 9 times out of 10, they want the lovely rusty look around the lawn edging. What do you think it is that's created that sort of appeal to clients?
Sort of start thinking about what I reference as the Australian modern landscape. And that's where you're seeing lots of sort of aged materials, aged timber, logs, stones, beautiful Australian colours that are dry, low water use. These sort of like very special colours to Australia. Weathering steel offers that, patinaed steel that does age over time with the oxidisation of weathering steel. And of course, I think that the rusty look, I mean, for me, I grew up, from across Swan Hill and Wangaratta, and originally from a dairy farmer's family. And so I was used to sort of seeing a lot of rusty things out in the field. And so I still sort of think to this day, it reminds me a lot of, where I've come from and I don't know, farming and that rural nature, that mix of,
I think, I know what you're
humans and natural environment sort of coming together.
It's interesting when you're talking about the rusty look. Obviously, I grew up around Lorne and Deans Marsh area.
Yeah.
And I'm just picturing, obviously, the coastal side of things. You've got the nice sort of the beautiful seaside vegetation, and mixing that in with that steel edging, the weathering steel, you can just picture will look lovely. Yeah. It's just amazing how the influence of the coastal element is sort of coming through. And I think when you were talking about that, I was thinking, the coastal side of things is absolutely what would incorporate straight curve edging. Yeah,
100%. I think, Australia's got all sorts of beautiful, natural landscapes and also urban environments. Weathered steel. Of course, we do everything in galvanised steel as well, which is becoming more and more popular these days, especially in coastal environments. But galvanised steel is a product that looks great, and its patina is sort of cloudy and a bit salty over time. It also, being galvanised means that you can paint it in situ once you've installed it. You can have it powder coated before you install it. And so it's pretty exciting that we have these two offerings to suit almost every environment.
So you guys have the galvanised and the weathered look, obviously.
Yeah. So in all of our edging and above ground range, we have the weathering steel, which is sort of the bread and butter in the edging industry in Australia, I suppose. Yeah. But as we sort of shift from the Australian modern landscape aesthetic with the rusty stuff, we're sort of moving into a space of, I sort of look at it as like the Australian ultra-modern garden, where we're starting to see powder-coated colours, we're starting to see galvanised steel, stainless steel, and other materials, in sort of the metal space. So look out and I guess look out for that and think creatively about what you can do with steel.
Yeah, and that's a good way to look at it. And obviously, when we're talking about rust and weathering, I'm sure lots of people might think rust, really. So do you want to talk to us about the process of getting it weathered?
Obviously, when we talk about weathering steel, it's a common way of referencing, the steel that's used in landscaping. Core 10 is one of the most famous brands. Yep. And I think that I had this very brief analogy around weathering steel and Core 10. I like to introduce Straightcurve as another brand of weathering steel, sort of like cola. You've got Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Schweppes. All these colas are delicious and people enjoy different flavours, but they are branded. Yep. So we have Core 10, that's a brand that's very well known. We've got Red Core, it's another brand that's very well known. We've got Straightcurve, and we've got other manufacturers of true weathering steel. They've got their different patinas, they've got their different colours. And so when you look at the colours that you can bring to a landscape, there are some that are quite yellowish, there are some that are quite purple, and we sort of sit somewhere in the middle with a beautiful sort of soft, reddy brown, which we're really proud of, and that's our recipe.
So that's what I was going to say. That's what differentiates you guys a bit, is like you've got the weathering Core 10 look, but then you've got that different sort of weathered texture look.
Yeah, I suppose Core 10 is just one, Straightcurve's another, and there's there's many others sort of producers of weathering steel out there. So each one has a different recipe, each one has a different sort of patina. But it is great to watch weathering steel patina over time, and no panel's the same and no environment where it's installed is the same. So you'll always have this, difference in the way things look.
G'day, Jason Hodges here. Like me, you know that life happens on lawn, and my mates at Straightcurve Instant Lawn have been producing world-class grass for over 50 years. Whether you need a play space for the kids, a barbie area for your mates, or an outdoor spot for the pooch, Straightcurve offer a lawn for every yard or project. From the hardy Tiff Tough Hybrid Bermuda to the greener in winter fescue. Call Straightcurve for a free quote today, or go online to straightcurve.com.au.
What about protecting the rear of the steel? Like, do you guys recommend to put like a membrane or something to stop sort of soils and water and stuff going up against it? Or is it okay with, as it is, because it's steel and the process of it, is it okay to sort of plant everything up against it?
When I think about waterproofing, obviously you've got to consider the environment in which you're installing it in. Anything whenever you've got water logging or opportunity for water logging, or where you need good drainage, you need to build that into your constructed landscape. It's definitely helpful to put a membrane on anything that you put in the ground. I help run a family farm just outside of Yea. Whenever we dig holes and put things in the holes, we put a membrane around those posts because we want those posts to last. So you should definitely think about what you're constructing and how it's going to function over time, and you can certainly put a membrane on the back of it.
Yeah, no, lovely. And I was just thinking for people that are listening that may be a bit more the DIYers, if they just throw it in the ground, what can they do to make sure it's going to last as long as possible? So that's a good way to do it, is obviously waterproof it, treat it properly so you don't have any issues, and it'll last probably twice as long.
Absolutely. Weathering steel is designed to weather. It's designed to protect itself as it patinas, as it goes through its phases of patinaing. Yep. I think about 7 stages.
Yeah.
It will create its own protective coating. Galvanised steel, inherently being galvanised, is going to last 2-3 times longer than weathering steel in the landscape. When you powder coat that, you're giving it almost an infinite life. Yeah. And so too with weathering steel, if you want to put a membrane on the back of it, you are going to increase its longevity for sure.
So when you say about the 7 stages...
Yeah.
Talk about that, please, because that sounds quite interesting. I think it is.
The way in which ingredients that are involved allow it to create its patina, and it goes through phases over time. And that's why you can see the patina sort of maturing, sort of like a fine wine. You know, you put it in, you put the steel in now, or you've got the fresh grape juice now, and you can taste it. It looks all right. It tastes all right. But over time, you'll see that patina really comes to its finish and settles, and that's the time when you can really enjoy it. And ultimately, that's also aligned with your planting. And as the plants grow, you watch the steel patina, and that's something that's pretty magical about weathering steel. That's
part of it, like watching the plant grow. You watch the steel weather.
Absolutely.
And rust up and think, oh, no, it's going to corrode, but no, it won't.
I talk to punters about that quite a lot. They're always asking me, how fast can I, how can I get the patina happening quickly? Can I get it rusting really quickly? Because for this reason or that, you can. I would say that it may degrade its natural process, and there really is magic in watching the steel patina over time. Definitely. Just like watching your plants grow, mature, and develop in that space that you've designed.
I was having a think about this. So from a designer or landscaper's point of view, how do the right materials and systems actually change the way a project will come together on site?
I have a real passion for detail and for getting designs right. I was fortunate enough to study landscape architecture at the University of Melbourne, and aligned with that, I was able to study horticulture and botany at Burnley. So through those studies, I sort of started to realise that you can do more with a space than just plant it out. You can create spaces by delineation, by raising levels, creating zones for particular plants or for different places where you can sit. So when you look at all of the different capabilities of a landscape or options in a design, you want to make sure that you're going to use a product that's going to last. You put it in once, you don't need to go back to it to some degree. So whether it's timber or steel, stone, you want to make sure that it's installed correctly the first time. And I think that's where sort of Straightcurve comes to the fore. It's a very reliable product, and we've been lucky enough to build our brand on word of mouth. Yeah. The more people use it, the more they love it.
Well, and that's it. And that's what makes our gardens and our landscapes so good these days. There's just the versatility as well that you can get out of the garden. So with raised garden beds everywhere now, where do most systems fall short?
Yeah, look, what I see a lot is systems that rely heavily on tech screws, having to bury their panels, some welding. But it's definitely for me, it's those visible fixings that sort of try to hold everything together. From my experience, those are often the first points to fail, or at the very least, they detract from the finish. They also add time on site, of course, which no landscaper wants.
No.
And when we design products, we're always asking, how can we remove the steps without removing the strength or the aesthetic? I'm pretty passionate about this because when you see the difference with Straightcurve, you can't unsee it in comparison. And I like to look at our raised garden bed panels or our Click Connect edging and say, it's seemingly seamless.
Yeah.
There are no visible fixings. It's a beautiful, smooth, clean line. All the work's happening on the back of the panel.
That's really good. The more you talk about that, the more it just comes to attention. I think a lot of the listeners is just the time that it will save.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's something that sounds like you guys have worked really hard to sort out.
It's time and resources, right? You've got to have all the materials needed, tech screws, all the tools. You've got to have welding materials. You've got to have people who know how to use those tools.
Yep.
Now you can basically unpack our product from the box and install it within minutes, not hours. You can do edging projects that might take you a week. Now you can do it in half a day.
So that's obviously, we're talking about the Click Connect system.
Click Connect system and our raised garden
and
bed
the raised
system.
garden bed system. With the Click Connect system, obviously the edging system is faster to install. Is it the lack, without the need of tech screws? Is that the main thing that's going to make it quicker to put together?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no tech screws. The lengths click together, and then we have a galvanised twisted spike, which has been incredibly popular with our 75mm original range and our raised garden bed panels, because those spikes, almost bulletproof. You can get them into almost any ground. So it's gone are the days of relying on flat pegs or having to weld rebar into the ground.
Yeah, no, that's not fun.
It's not fun.
It's definitely not fun.
It's not fun, and the finish is never really looks good with with rebar and welds.
And that's the difference, is that having the weathering steel like this, it's designed to be easy to install, and that's what we want these days.
Yeah,
100%. How do you find the DIY versus the professional market? With your contractors versus DIYers, how do you find the different sort of products that are being sold? Like with contractors, do you have the bigger raised things? With the DIYs, they're mainly lawn edging?
Look, that's a great question, Adam. I guess, our founders, Dan and Yuri, were really focused on creating a product that was going to be simple for all users and better than anything else on the market. The fact that we've relied heavily on input from landscapers around the country to help us create the products we have, we've listened to them, we've got them to test some of our ideas, and we've been able to put to market, the Click Connect edging, for example, or tweak the raised garden bed systems. With their advice and input, means that these systems are designed for landscapers to have a high quality, clean and fast finish, something they can rely on. And ultimately, by making it so simple and easy for landscapers, it means that it's incredibly easy for the DIY customer. We've got, through our network of dealers across the country or stockists, we know of customers that are installing edging, raised garden beds, planter boxes alike themselves. But we also know that the repeat customers for our stockists are landscapers, because landscapers are choosing to use Straightcurve again and again once they've found it and once they've used it that first time. Yeah. So it's been designed to be easy for everybody.
So with the installation side of things, does the website have instructions or videos or things that they can use?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that we do really well, is communicate how to use our product in a very simple and short way. The website is very intuitive. You can jump to the gallery on the top right-hand corner of the straightcurve.com website, click installation videos, and you've got a video for each one of our products. They're short, they're fun, to watch, a bit of cheeky music, and you've got a couple of landscapers, professionals there building something with that product and showing you how to make corners, how to join the systems together. You can be a guru with Straightcurve within a matter of minutes.
And that's what we want these days, isn't it? Everything is so quick and fast paced. So the fact that you've got everything there in video form as well is fantastic.
Yeah, I see that Straightcurve, gets specified on a lot of projects these days. The plans get handed off to a landscaper to build. Now they go and grab the panels or the boxes of Click Connect. They lay them out in the landscape, panel after panel, box after box, and then they have staff who may not have used the product before easily grab the panel. We've got QR codes that are little stickers on the back of the panels, so any staff member, any team member, or any DIY person at home can just pull a phone out, quickly scan it. They can see a spec sheet. They can see product use information and a quick video on how to install it. Yeah. So again, within minutes, live on site, you can be a guru with Straightcurve.
With the way that the system operates, what type of feedback have you had from contractors? As in, Thomas, this is what we love about it, or this is what we could improve on. But
look, over time we've seen professionals in the industry come to us and praise us for what we have to offer. It really does show that we've worked hard to make things very simple. The precision engineering behind our products stands true for all of our product lines. The fact that our products they do what they say they'll do. If you want to make a curve, you can make a beautiful sweeping curve. Yeah. If you want to hold a straight line, you can hold a straight line, and you can use those products in combination. So they love that about our products. Another thing would be that our 75mm edging was incredibly popular, as I said, and the raised garden beds because of the spikes. So we took that feedback and created the Click Connect edging system with the spikes. So we were able to turn, feedback from users into products that are going to make their lives easier.
That's it. The good thing is if you're taking the feedback and you make it easier, and that's what sets you guys apart. Where can you see the industry in, let's say, 10 years? So what type of innovations, I guess, is Straightcurve possibly looking at that maybe you can share or can't share that might sort of give listeners a bit of an idea of what to expect?
Look, we're very ambitious in the landscape space. We love working with all professionals in the industry, from architects to engineers to specifiers, designers, landscapers. We see that more and more of our products are being used in ways that we hadn't thought about originally, in terms of height profiles, using our galvanised steel to being powder coated and painted. I suppose there's a little bit of an exclusive for the podcast, Adam. Later this year, Straightcurve are going to be launching a powder coated range of our products. We haven't mentioned it in public yet, and we're pretty excited that is going to be the sort of next phase for us. We love what we've done, we love what we do, but we know that we have to keep iterating and creating things that are going to be suitable for the fashions and the needs to come. So watch this space. Powder coating range is coming.
So that's coming for Straightcurve.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good. Now, one final one I wanted to touch on, the landscape show. So you guys are sponsoring this event, which obviously connects contractors and suppliers. How important do you think that relationship is?
Taking a step back, I think that the role of that Landscaping Victoria takes in the industry here, at home, is really important. Landscaping Victoria puts on many events throughout the year and brings like-minded people together and sort of helps nurture and grow our industry. The landscape show is coming up, in a couple of months, and that's a show we've attended before, and we're looking forward to attending again. We love the fact that we have tens, if not more than hundreds or so, conversations on that one day with professionals. Professionals seek us out. They're interested, whether they've heard about us and used our product before, or they haven't heard about us and they come and want to find out more. We have great conversations. It opens up relationships for us that are short-term, medium-term, long-term, or should I say, to start in the short-term or, in the medium-term or long-term. And it's a way of putting faces to names. We see a lot of, branded vehicles out there on the road, but you never know who are the business owners behind it, who are the teams behind it, what sort of work do they do? And of course, you can do your research on, business by business, but by meeting people in person, having a real conversation with someone, I think is really special.
And getting that hands-on experience, showing the product so they can feel it and see how it works, see how the Click Connect works, all that type of thing. Yeah. And whether the powder-coated range might make an appearance, depends if it's ready in time, but that's really, really good to hear, mate. So, Thomas, look, mate, we'll leave it there, but thank you very much for coming. It's really great to know more about Straightcurve, and obviously listeners can jump to the website and find the closest stockists and go from there, and I'm sure they'll get some good inspiration.
Good on you, Adam. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. And that's a wrap for this episode of The Front Garden, brought to you by Landscaping Victoria and Straightcurve Garden Edging. Proud supporters of the landscaping industry, and don't forget to follow the podcast on your favourite platforms so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed today's chat, share it with your crew, your mates, or on your socials. Let's keep growing this community together. I'm Adam Hompas. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time in the next episode of The Front Garden.